It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the University of Chicago's Martin Luther King Jr. reception. I am Bill McDade. I'm Deputy Provost for Research and Minority Issues and co-chair of the Diversity Leadership Council at the university. Today, we come together to celebrate the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the work of two staff members and alumni who embody Dr. King's beliefs. I'm joined on stage today by the University of Chicago's 13th president, Robert Zimmer, and this afternoon's honorees, and my co-chair for the Diversity Leadership Council, Sonia Malunda, who is Senior Associate Vice President for the Community Engagement. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge some of the individuals who have come to join us to celebrate Dr. King at the university today. Alderman Pat Dowell from the 3rd Ward is here. Alderman John Pope of the 10th Ward was over here a few seconds ago. I think he's back there somewhere. Representative Barbara Flynn Curry is right in front. And my pastor of the Apostolic Church of God, Pastor Dr. Byron Brazier. And it's kind of bright over here, so I can't see who we're pointing at. There we are. Well, so it's so nice to have you all with us. Is Leslie Hairston? Is that right? Yes. I can't see you. As well, Alderman from the 5th Ward. So thank you very much for coming to join us in celebration of Dr. King. It's now my great pleasure to welcome President Zimmer to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill, and let me add my welcome to that of Bill to all of you here for this wonderful annual event. So when the University of Chicago was founded, it was founded with a very clear set of purposes and missions. It was going to be a great research university whose ideas were going to be defined by a level of rigor and focus in its inquiry that was going to be like no other. It was going to be an educational institution that was going to be focused on an empowering education through the nature of ideas and challenging and rigorous inquiry. And it was going to be a place that had a major impact on the world. It was going to have this impact through its alumni, through the nature of ideas, and through a set of very purposeful actions that were going to be of direct impact. Now, in order to achieve these missions, one critical factor was, of course, the people who were going to be attracted to the university in order to fulfill them. And what was recognized from the beginning of the university, that for the university to be functioning at the highest level, whether it was in terms of the faculty who were here doing research and teaching, whether it was the students here who were learning and building the fabric of an intellectual community, to the staff who were here providing the infrastructure and the backbone of everything that was going to be happening, that in order for the university to fulfill those missions at the highest possible level, that it needed to be a place of inclusion, needed to be a place where everyone was welcome, where the diversity of perspectives that were going to be brought forward by having an inclusive and diverse environment were going to be on the table at all times. And where every one of these functions, whether it was with faculty, whether it was staff, whether it was students, whether it was the nature of the community that we were involved with, or was the nature of the people that needed to be hired by the university to do certain things, that in every case, the nature of inclusion was important to us being as great as we aspired to be. And this continues to be a very important focus for the University of Chicago. It's something that the university at every level is committed to, and we're committed not just in one particular area, but all the way from the nature of the Board of Trustees to our student body, to every part of our staff and our faculty and our interactions with the community. This is something, inclusion is something that we want to deeply embed as a reflection of who we are as an institution. And we want to take that value, which we believe is a high value, and not only have it be a function of the university as we continually strive to embed that in the university, but carry it forward and project it as a value in the way that we interact in the city, the way we interact on the south side, and the way we interact abroad. So every year we hope that we can talk about a number of things we're doing that we did not do last year. I just mentioned one or two right now that speak to this. One of the things that we've been very pleased with is the program of UChicago Promise. This is the first year we have students based on this program, which was designed to increase the accessibility of the University of Chicago for students from the city of Chicago, which includes the Chicago public school system, but in fact includes every student in the city of Chicago. This involves providing full financial aid with no loan expectation. It involves waiving the application fee. It involves running programs for students. It involves running programs for college counselors throughout the city, whether or not they are advising students to come to the university, because we want all these students to have opportunities somewhere to be going to college. So this was a program that we announced, and this is the first year that we have students here who have come through that program, and it did lead to what we hoped it would lead to, which on one hand is a significant increase in the number of students from the Chicago public schools that were coming to the University of Chicago. But also, I think it did have an impact on the way that the Chicago public schools can actually serve all of the students much more generally. That's one example of one of the things that has happened this past year. Another is, as many of you know, is the Washington Park Arts Incubator. We have Theaster here, of course, and Pat Dowell is here. But this has been, I think, an extremely important activity that we have undertaken in terms of both community building on one hand, the use of the arts for community building, but also as a way of thinking about the arts as an integrator for multiple perspectives and providing opportunities for residents of the South Side and for the university to be engaged with each other around issues connected to the arts. The last thing I would mention, because I do want to indicate that this is something of broad and global scope, is that we will this year be opening our center in University of Chicago Center in Delhi. It's under construction right now, and hopefully will be done when the opening takes place in a couple of months. We've also, as you know, many as you know, opened a center in Beijing, and we will also be opening a center in Hong Kong. So all of these things are meant to reflect the nature of the way the university is thinking about inclusion, all the way from what happens 3 blocks from here to what happens across the ocean. One of the other things that we've done is create the Diversity Leadership Council. So this was a council that was established in 2007 to bring leaders from around the university together to think about issues of inclusion, to make sure that whatever we were doing, we were keeping this in front of ourselves and not allow it just to be one of those things that's in the back of our mind that maybe we get around to thinking about when we're done thinking about other things. So Diversity Leadership Council was really meant to keep this in front of us, to bring leaders together, to bring ideas constantly to the table as to how we can be doing more. There are a number of people here who are involved in this. Some of you are sitting, some of you are standing. If you just wave your hand so people can recognize some of who you are. I want to thank you for your work. As we all know, things do not happen without leadership. And one of the things we are doing today is recognizing those members of the university staff and those members of the university alumni community who have done extraordinary things in providing leadership for all of us in terms of our collective work and the work of our society in diversity and inclusion. These awards were established in 2009. We award them in conjunction with a recognition of Dr. Martin Luther King. It seemed an appropriate juxtaposition. And indeed, it still seems like an appropriate juxtaposition. Usually we make one award to an alum and one award to a staff member. Today we're very pleased to honor one alumna, but we are in fact making an award to two staff members, which I view as a very positive thing in terms of the number of people who are recognizable for outstanding work in terms of this. So let me begin with our staff awards. With these awards, we, as I indicated, recognize staff members who display leadership in fostering diversity both on campus and within the surrounding community. And our first recipient of the Diversity Leadership Staff Award is Kathy Forde, who is Assistant Dean of Students and Advisor in the college. So Kathy has been with the University of Chicago for nearly 24 years. During that time, she's helped establish the strong institutions that LGBTQ students, staff, and community members enjoy today. In 1992, Kathy was integral in organizing the efforts that successfully produced the university's historic domestic partnerships benefits policy for gay and lesbian couples, making us only the second academic institution in the country to do so. She also co-established our nation-leading LGBTQ mentoring program, which connects students to faculty, staff, graduate or professional mentors. She helped establish the 5710 South Woodlawn Diversity Center, which houses the Office of Multicultural Student Affairs and of LGBTQ student life. Kathy's ongoing commitment and engagement undoubtedly contributed to making our university the first in Chicago to receive a perfect 5-star rating from the LGBT-friendly Campus Climate Index in 2012. And throughout her career, Kathy's dedication to equality for the LGBTQ community has impacted hundreds of lives at the university. She's helped our LGBTQ students, faculty, and staff find the means to express themselves and to stand up for their own personal beliefs and identities. Kathy, would you please join me at the podium? So it is with great appreciation that we present you with the 2014 Diversity Leadership Staff Award. Thank you for your work in bringing together diverse perspectives and thereby strengthening our entire university community. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
few words.
Thank you so much. I'm to an age that I have to do this. I'm deeply honored to receive this award, especially given what good company I am in this year with alumni recipient Aida Giachello and staff co-recipient Theaster Gates. Thank you, President Zimmer, Dr. McDade, Ms. Malunda, and the award selection committee for bestowing this award on me. I also owe thanks to the many people who supported me as I worked to create a mentoring program for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender undergraduates at the University of Chicago. Thanks are due to Katie Nash, the former Dean of Students, and Susan Art, the current Dean of Students, for their support not only of me but also of the mentoring program. To Bert Kohler, who was an early and enthusiastic champion of the program, as well as all of the faculty and staff members who stepped forward to become mentors. To the students who participated in the program, and to Jim Howley and John Laceman, who helped co-chair the program. I also want to thank Michael Yarborough and Dina Vanderwall for thinking enough of me and taking the time to nominate me for this award. Thanks to my family, who has never been anything but supportive. I learned from my parents to step up and take responsibility. I'm so pleased that my dad and my sister and my niece and my nephew are here to celebrate with us today. The mentor program grew out of my personal experience as a student in the 1980s. When I came out on the campus where I went to school, I was made to feel unwelcome and of little value to the university community. It was not uncommon for our LGBT student group to receive death threats on our answering machine. The kind of self-doubt and fear I experienced then was something I didn't want any other student to endure again. Providing mentors to young LGBT students at UChicago gave them up-close and personal role models who demonstrated that they could be valued members of society and that they could live without fear, not in a closet. They didn't have to deny who they were. If the 5-star premier rating this campus received by the organization Campus Pride has, as Michael Yarborough contended in his nomination of me, anything to do with my efforts, I could not be more proud. But I also value the role the mentoring program played in introducing students to the larger campus, to the larger community, beyond the confines of this campus, hoping they would find ways to integrate themselves into the community off campus, to volunteer, to learn from those that came before them. One memorable event that we participated in was the Lesbian Community Cancer Project's huge annual fundraiser, Coming Out Against Cancer, that used to be held at the South Shore Cultural Center. Mentors and students volunteered helping set up the event, and in return we got to put on our party clothes and join the fun. I remember the students' look of amazement as hundreds and hundreds of people streamed into the Cultural Center dressed to the nines. We shook hands with politicians who were there to support us. I remember the look of awe on one young man's face as he said, "I didn't think there were this many lesbians in the whole world." While this may seem commonplace now, keep in mind that this was long before Ellen had a talk show, and many LGBT students couldn't envision a life for themselves post-college. I am also so proud to be a member of this university community, and especially proud to work in the Dean of Students office in the college under the leadership of Susan Art. My wonderful colleagues show through their actions each and every day that diversity and inclusion are not simply buzzwords, but a fundamental part of our mission and our core values. Receiving this award this year is especially meaningful to me as I celebrate my 25th year working at the university and as marriage equality becomes law in the state of Illinois. So, after 26 years, I can finally marry the love of my life, Yvonne Zipter. And as we celebrate today the life and work of Martin Luther King, let us realize the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Never could I have imagined in those days when I felt so alone on my campus in the cornfields in the 1980s that this long arc would bend towards the inclusion of LGBT people in so very many aspects of this university and of society as a whole. Thank you everyone so much.
This year's second staff award winner is Theaster Gates, who is the director of the University of Chicago Arts and Public Life Initiative and faculty member in the Department of Visual Arts. Theaster, as by now surely everybody in the world knows, is a Chicago-based artist who has developed an expanded practice that includes space development, object making, performance, and critical engagement with a diverse range of publics. Theaster's unique style, intersecting urban planning and the arts through public installations and more, has earned him a well-deserved place on the international stage. Recent exhibition and performances venues include the Studio Museum in Harlem, in New York City, Whitechapel Gallery in London, Punta della Dogana in Venice, the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago, Documenta 13 in Kassel, Germany. And in 2012, Theaster was awarded the inaugural Vera List Center Prize for Arts and Politics and a Creative Time Global Residency Fellowship. He was also named the Wall Street Journal's Journal Arts Innovator of the Year, United States Arts Fellow. Last month, he and his work were featured in the New York Times Magazine, and of course, most recently in The New Yorker. Theaster has been an advocate for diversity throughout his career. His complex and engaging projects use the power of public art to revitalize troubled communities and create cross-cultural and social diversity. His commitment to these goals can be seen plainly in his work connecting the University of Chicago with our neighboring communities, most recently at the new Washington Arts Incubator, which I mentioned earlier. Theaster has worked passionately to make the Arts Incubator a reality, and its existence today represents his dedication to connecting this university and its neighbors through a common bond of the arts. Through his creativity, leadership, and dedication to the public life and the arts, Theaster has already inspired and brought together thousands in communities around Chicago and the world. He sparks dynamic dialogue and cultural interchange at this campus and beyond. Theaster. Okay, so just formally, let me say, Theaster, I'm happy to present you with the 2014 Diversity Leadership Staff Award, and I want to thank you personally, as well as president of the university, for doing so much to bring so many people together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This thing has some weight to it. I'm honored to be honored. And I'm honored that you guys are here to celebrate both Martin Luther King's legacy and vision and his leadership, and that the university would understand the value of recognizing diverse leadership. There's a part of me that wants to talk about the incubator and what it represents, but I think that in many ways, the incubator is a byproduct of something that feels like it's emergent at the University of Chicago. That culture, in a way unparalleled at the university, has become a priority. And that there's a way in which the leadership on campus and off campus is supporting a really complicated and diverse and varied cultural agenda. We finally understand that culture can do things that government alone can't do, and throwing money at things can't do, and all of the goodwill in the world can't do. That culture has the capacity to unite people from diverse backgrounds, to create new economic opportunities in places where you thought there weren't, to create opportunities for people who are often on the margins of society, but often have so much to contribute, that the arts and culture matter, and that the university has been an amazing partner in thinking about how it matters. I've been at the university 7 years now. I moved from the west side of Chicago, where I was born, to take this job at the University of Chicago, and decided that I would move to 69th in Dorchester. Right on, right on. Right on, right on. I was just a weirdo dude with a very small starting salary, bent on making the place that I live in a better place. And with a very kind of simple mission that wherever I am, I'm gonna try to do what I can. Real simple stuff. That I'd mow the lawn, that I'd plow the snow, and that if I was embedded at the University of Chicago, I would try to take those same values with me. That what a great opportunity to be embedded in a place that is looking for leadership on how to make transformation happen, how to make that real and tangible and not just theoretical, and then to marry that with my personal conviction and passion. Because of the work of people like Danielle Allen early on, and then the former Deputy Provost, Larry Norman, and my new Deputy Provost, Larry Z. But also just the support of an amazing staff saying, these creative ideas are important. Your leadership is a little bit different and kind of quirky, which adds to the diversity and variety in the provost office, but we're going to support it. And that support has meant new kinds of creative practices have been able to emerge, that the Washington Park Arts Incubator has been able to emerge. But I'm also looking at Leslie Harrison and Pat Dowell, and Alderman Cochran's probably somewhere in here as well, and Will Burns, that there's a way in which the political leadership has to also be willing to meet institutional opportunity and has to be willing to meet private individuals who want to make cool things happen in the hood. And so for all of that support, both inside and outside, I want to say thanks. President Zimmer, it's really an honor to have ideas as a creative individual and feel like those things have a home. And I feel like there's a real home here at the University of Chicago for my ideas. And that makes me real happy. Thank you so much.
Now, our final award this afternoon is the Diversity Leadership Alumni Award, with which we highlight contributions of alumni who advance the cause of social justice in our society. The University of Chicago, of course, are a very large and distinguished group. There are 150,000 alumni around the world, include some of the world's most prominent thinkers, inventors, business people, and researchers. And out of that 150,000, we honor one today. Our 2014 Diversity Leadership Alumni Award winner is Dr. Aida Giachello. Dr. Giachello is a professor in the Department of Preventative Medicine at Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine, where she conducts health disparities research. Throughout her career, Dr. Giachello has dedicated herself to research, advocacy, and activism for the health of women and racial and ethnic minorities. She founded numerous health and human services organizations for these groups, from the local to the national level, including the Hispanic Health Alliance, the Midwest Hispanic AIDS Coalition, the National Latino Council on Alcohol and Tobacco Prevention and Control, and the National Latino Institute for Reproductive Health, among others. Many institutions have already recognized the value of Dr. Giachello's work. She received the U.S. Hispanic Congressional Caucus Award in 2008. She was named as one of the 25 most influential Latinos in America in 2005 by Time magazine, and in 2010 she received the One of 10 Who Inspire Award by the American Association of Retired Persons, in addition to many other awards and recognitions. Dr. Giachello's life and work reflect a deep dedication to equality and justice for minorities and women everywhere. Supporting the health of individuals in these communities is a prerequisite for their active and healthy participation in the community at large. So we're very honored to call Dr. Giachello an alum of the university, and would you please join me here at the podium? And so it's my great pleasure to present you with the 2014 Diversity Leadership Alumni Award. And I want to thank you, and I know everyone in this room thanks you for all that you've done for the health and wellness of our many communities. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Wow. Buenas noches. First of all, I really want to thank all of you, particularly the Diversity Council, for their nomination for this award, undeserved award. This award is very significant for me for many reasons. At the personal level, I've been, advocating through research, community mobilization, as I consider myself and be trained actually as a community organizer in this institution, to really advocate for the needs of the poor, racial and ethnic minority, women as a group, the elderly. But some of that commitment has come because I have lived it. I know what it is to be poor. I know what it is to be struggling and experiencing social discrimination on the basis of gender, race, and ethnicity, etc. I'm a Puerto Rican, born and raised in Puerto Rico. My parents, when I was a child, moved to the Spanish Harlem in New York, looking for better opportunity. We lived in public housing. We were on welfare. So I know, and I remember vividly, the experiencing of seeing people injecting drugs when I was only 3 or 5 years of age in front of our building. I remember people struggling and with a sense of hopeless because the society were not providing them the opportunities to be able to advance themselves. So if I really have been advocating for social justice issues because I know what it is, I have experienced that. I know that our communities are hurting. So I want to really thank, first of all, the University of Chicago, the president, the dean, the top-level officials here, for their commitment in really changing institutional culture and policy and establishing the kinds of committee that would allow many other people to have the opportunity that I have. But I also want to thank the faculty and the staff, because when I first did my master's degree in social work from the School of Social Services Administration in 1969, I started and graduated in 1971. I find myself in a family environment. There were Latino faculty in SSA at that time. I was one of 10 Latino students that were recruited, and I was recruited because I came from Puerto Rico with my husband expecting the first baby, and Aspira, a nonprofit organization that is trying to encourage students to go for a graduate degree. The director happened to be a neighbor of mine, and she was every day telling me, you have to apply for the School of Social Service Administration. There's scholarships opportunity. And I said, I'm expecting a baby. I want to learn how to cook. I never learned how to cook, by the way. But you're socialized with a number of traditional values and expectation. And so I thought that if I apply, I would let her, she would be out of my back, so to speak, and would leave me alone. But in reality, it was one of the most amazing experiences. I was in the community organizing concentration in social work. So I became a community organizer, and there were so many, critical and bright individuals. There were African American and Asian and Latinos, and it happened to be at the end of the civil rights movement and women's movement and consumer health movement, all kinds of movements. So it was a wonderful time where the students really would teach each other. We really were very much embedded in the many things that were happening at the time. So that really was part of my formation. And that experience at the University of Chicago was critical, to the point that when I had the opportunity to come back for a PhD, I felt that that was the place that I wanted to be, that I wanted to continue enhancing my knowledge. So I really want to thank the faculty and the staff that were able to nurture me and to take the time to give me the knowledge and the skills and to invest in me and believe in me. So my experience at the University of Chicago have been extremely positive. And I know there were other things that needed to be changed for the better. And I'm glad that now we are finally, moving as well in that direction. Finally, I really want to thank my granddaughter who's here, Madeline, and my brother, who I'm a caregiver of him from the Vietnam War, and he had a series of psychological problems as a result of his participation in the war. And my daughter was with me early in the luncheon, and there's one that's supposed to be here, that she was coming from downtown. But I want to thank them, and although I'm a widow, my husband passed away in 2004 of lung cancer. And in reality, you know, my husband was just a wonderful human being. He was just a wonderful support system that I have had throughout the years to be able to pursue my career goals. But I wanted to really share this award with the many unsung heroes, the many people who are struggling every day to, you know, make needs and meets their needs. I want to also share with the many other unsung heroes who are struggling. Well, we hear they're struggling to make this a better society. So thank you very much.
Let's give our outstanding group of awardees and honorees this evening another round of applause. Stand up. We would like to thank everyone who nominated their colleagues to be a part of this program this evening. And for the colleagues who are in the audience, please think about who you might nominate for next year. I'd also like to recognize a couple of individuals in the audience, our special guests, Reverend Jesse Jackson. And 4th Ward Alderman Will Burns. So please enjoy the rest of the reception, and we hope you can join us this evening directly across the street in Rockefeller Chapel to hear Governor Deval Patrick. Thank you again on behalf of the University of Chicago and the Diversity Leadership Council. Thank you.